If you're able, please rise and join us for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would our clerk please call the roll of council?
Councilmember Dish?
Here.
Councilmember Harrison?
Here.
Councilmember Song?
Here.
Councilmember Watson?
Here.
Councilmember Medina? Here. Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Here.
Mayor Taylor?
Here.
Councilmember Iyer?
Here.
Councilmember Ackman?
Here.
Councilmember Briggs?
Here.
Councilmember Cornell?
Here.
We have a quorum.
May I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Ackman. Discussion of the agenda. All in favor? Opposed? The agenda is approved. Do we have communications today from our city administrator?
No.
We do, however, have an introduction today in what is going to be a delightfully periodic report and an update from our friends at the AAATA. Matt Carpenter, you have the con.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's my pleasure to be here this evening. My name is Matthew Carpenter. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Ann Arbor Area Transportation Authority, otherwise known as the RIDE. I'd like to just note I have two of my board members in attendance, our chair, Kathleen Mozak, and board member Rich Chang. So thank you for having us here. This is the inaugural update for us. We'll be trading off with the DDA, providing you, real quick, like speed dating updates at the beginning of your meetings of some of the goings on for our two agencies, alternating each month. So who is the RIDE? If you don't know, we're the public transit provider and agency for the greater Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti areas. We've been here about 53 years, approved by Citizen Initiative in 1969. So I've been asked to provide some high-level updates, so I'll do that. So first, as many of you I know are aware, everything we do is now sort of contextualized within a new long-range plan. Our board last year approved our 25-year plan, the RIDE 2045, and this is not one of those studies that sits on a shelf.
I'm sorry, excuse me, Mr. Carpenter. When members of the public who have signs, please keep them below shoulder level so that people behind them may keep it visible. Please proceed. Thank you. My apologies.
No worries. So last year, our board of directors approved our first 25-year long-range plan. As I was saying, it's not really a study to sit on a shelf. It's a to-do list, and we're very happy to already be able to report real meaningful progress on a lot of the initiatives there. I see it as more of a to-do list. So you may recall that last year, the voters of this area approved a millage for us. That really is the first 5 years worth of services of that 25-year plan. There was a lot of great stuff. A more frequent weekend service, later evening service, which I know particularly has been something that the hospitality industry in downtown Ann Arbor has asked for over the years. So there's a lot of great stuff in there. And we're going to begin our public engagement on the details of those plans next week. I would encourage anyone with an interest in learning more about those services to visit our website, theride.org, to learn more. I think the centerpiece of that proposal is a new regional express bus route between downtown Ann Arbor and downtown Ypsilanti. We're going to take a 45-minute bus trip, cut it by a third to a half an hour. That really is a meaningful improvement and helps bring our two communities much closer together. That's a good segue to a thank you to this body and your entire community for your T1 zoning, your transit supportive zoning. We're very excited to be a part of that. I want to thank you for the forward thinking that is inherent in there. A lot of communities are thinking about density or mixed use or pedestrian oriented work, but not everyone's made that connection with public transit, that we can be that longer distance mode of transit that complements non-motorized and pedestrian activities. We're looking forward to that. We've been happy to work with your staff, whether it's the State and Eisenhower work, the stadium work, Washtenaw, or most recently Plymouth. Very excited about the potentials for that. Really, our end on that is to make sure the services are great, that they're really attractive, that they can be an attractive alternative to the single occupant vehicle, help people get out of their cars. So we're with you. We're going to hold up our end of that. We're doing a lot of work on equity in the next couple of years. And for us, because we serve Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti, this 5 years is really about bringing Ypsilanti up to the same level of awesome, frankly, that Ann Arbor has enjoyed for many years. We're doing a lot of work on their downtown bus terminal in preparation for better services there. We want to thank Senator Peters and Representative Dingell for their multi-million-dollar support. You can't call them earmarks anymore. Congressionally directed funding, I think is the phrase. A lot of work and financial support has been provided to help us rebuild that transit center. We're excited about that. Our board is doing some important work that they'll probably be reaching out to you on. They give me and staff direction through written policies, and they want to make sure that their policies are reflective of what you, the appointing body, want to see. So they'll be reaching out to you in due course to try to figure out the best way to have those conversations. And then the final update I'd like to give you is something I'm really excited about, and we're just launching this week. Excuse me. Just today, we've rolled out the public part of our zero emissions bus propulsion work. There are two great ways that we can help sort of hold up the A20 promise of reducing carbon, one of which is getting people out of their cars. The other is, of course, reducing our own footprint. So we will be, this Thursday, having our own board meeting. We will be presenting our board with a staff proposal to purchase 2 hydrogen buses and a fueling station, run them for a little while as a test, as a pilot, as a learning opportunity. Pretty confident in the technology, but we need to learn and use this new type of technology. If successful, and I have every reason to believe it will be, this will lead to a gradual fleet transition where we phase out our older diesel buses and phase them in with something that produces no pollution at the tailpipe. So very excited about all those updates. There's a lot of information on our website. Mr. Mayor, for you, any member of council, or any member of the public who would like more information, I encourage you to visit theride.org to learn more, and we look forward to seeing all of you at our public involvement. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Grateful for your visit and the update. We now come to a set, and I should say to council members, if at some point you have questions for Mr. Carpenter and/or the ride, please feel free to communicate to him directly on that, or his designee. Thank you. We now come to public comment reserve time. Public comment reserve time is an opportunity for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. To speak at public comment reserve time, one needs to have signed up in advance by contacting our city clerk. Speakers in all instances, both here and online, will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk or the time clock will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Our first speaker today is Shabab Jackson.
Good evening, y'all. I was hoping to speak last, actually, but that's okay. So given just the current events of what's going on today, I just wanted to, I'm very Muslim, and I just wanted to extend a sense of peace, in the sense of, like positivity. I know the Palestinian-Gaza issue is very, very, very divisive and draws out people's very raw passions. In public news, there's talk of certain groups being blacklisted, and then revenge on that. In the news today, there was a young mother and her son who were attacked and murdered. And I'm purposely omitting who was who in this situation, because I don't think it really matters. The issue is that we have this tragedy, and it's kind of what seems to be a little bit of spillover and just some spiraling. So I find that unfortunate, and I think that I would like to remind everybody that whatever our religious convictions are, that peace and harmony are what bring us together. So specifically from my people, the Muslim community, I would like to remind them of, let's see here, Surah Al-Hajj, Ayah 40. and I'll read quickly, those who have been evicted from their homes without right, only because they say, our Lord is Allah. And were it not that Allah checks the people, some by means of others, there would have been demolished monasteries, churches, synagogues, and mosques, in which the name of Allah is much mentioned. And Allah will surely support those who support him. Allah is powerful and exalted in might. And I want to point out to y'all, monasteries, churches, synagogues and mosques. So وَيَمِعُوا وَبِيَعٌ وَصَلَوَاتٌ وَمَسَاجِدٌ, right? So Muslims have a duty to protect those whose faith we don't share. It's right here in the Quran, and I would like to remind everybody of that, as well as the fact that over 1 billion of us every single day announce Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, may Allah bestow blessings on Muhammad and his family. Kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim. As you have bestowed blessings on Ibrahim and the family of Ibrahim. We share a brotherhood, we share a unity here. I would just like to emphasize that for everybody here tonight. I know this is a very raw topic. Y'all can hear my voice shaking. And that's all, y'all. Salam and shalom.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Tom Stolberg.
Mr. Stolberg. Phone number ending in 534. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is Tom Stolberg calling from Lower Town in Ann Arbor, wishing peace for everyone, everywhere. I'd like to speak on multiple items.
Mr. Stolberg?
One is the park acquisition. Yes?
I'm sorry, there was an interruption in-house. Please continue.
I'd like to start speaking with C1, Parks Acquisition. This is an excellent use of the millage money that we voted in for. I want to remind people a third of what we commonly call the green belt millage is spent on inside the city parks acquisition. And this in particular is an excellent parcel for that. And I hope we continue to monitor that amount of money and spend it wisely. I'd also like to speak on DC 7 about the MDOT fence resolution. I thank you all for listening to the citizens and putting this resolution on the agenda. I'd like to speak about DC 8 extremely briefly, saying that when 415 West Washington, there was a potential developer for that. He was told he'd have to have there would have to be an RFP. That the city wouldn't really talk with him without that. So, except for very preliminary talks. So I want to remind everybody that RFP is appropriate on that. The main thing I want to talk about is MC1, its appointments to the Historic District Commission in particular. I am not in support of those nominations. I am currently on the board of the Ann Arbor Historic Foundation. I was on the Historic District Commission myself for 6 years, 2 of those as chair. I was on the Cobblestone Farm Board for 2 years. I'm currently on the Historic District Awards Committee. I've been on that for a number of years. And I've been on various study committees, historic district study committees, first appointed by Mayor Ingrid Sheldon. The Historic District Commission is for people who are interested in following the rules that the HDC is bound to follow. There are standards and guidelines set. There's a enabling act from the state of Michigan, and we need people appointed to there of various backgrounds that are interested in preservation and interested in upholding the rules that they are supposed to vote according to. We know specifically that one of the people nominated does not follow the rules. When on council, Chip Smith did not follow the rules and the criteria for rezoning. Unfortunately, in the past several years, we know that a number of council people have not been following the criteria that they're supposed to follow according to Michigan's Zoning Enabling Act. We've seen a problem with council over the past several years that's been brought up by experts. Planning Commission has had similar issues. Zoning Board of Appeals used to be really good. There's been a couple people who are starting to now
30
not
seconds.
apply the criteria appropriately. It is vital that the people nominated this do not have a history of not following the rules and who are not interested in historic preservation, especially people who are opposed to historic preservation being appointed on there. You're stacking the deck against the appropriate measures that the historic district should be following, rules, criteria, standards that are handed down to them. Please turn this down. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michael Gatian.
Ladies and gentlemen of the council, Mr. Mayor, good evening. I was just informed a little while ago that by one of the council members, that coming up next year will be the bicentennial celebration. And I thought it would be a wonderful and amazing idea as part of that to hold a talent show held in the Hill Auditorium. And this would be open to residents who would, including myself, who would be willing to share their wonderful talents. And I would read an original poem. If this is something you could look into, I would be honored to participate. Having a bicentennial celebration is a fantastic way to really bring Ann Arbor together. And so let's, this is really, it really brings Ann Arbor together, all these events throughout the year. So let's remain proud of being part of Tree Town. And as the city continues to grow, let us never forget our rich culture and diversity. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Will Epps.
Good afternoon, and thank you. I'll certainly be brief to honor the time frame for public remarks. My name is Will Epps, and I work as an operations executive with McKinley. We're the largest operator of workforce housing in Washtenaw County. And while I do, in fact, speak with the blessing of our CEO, Arbor, many of you know him, I also speak for the 150 men and women who do the work every day, 7 days a week, serving our customers, our residents, your constituents. There are approximately 10,000 units of workforce housing in Washtenaw County, and those are mostly in private hands today. In other words, they're owned mainly privately. That block of inventory is the largest sustainable block of affordable workforce housing inventory, and has been for decades in the county. The only new inventory added of any significance, of any scale, has been the luxury and the super luxury housing that's normally walkable to campus. Now that inventory, as you know, is a multiple in rent from the existing workforce housing component in the county, and it's the addition of these new luxury and super luxury units that has really done nothing to address the needs of what I'll call the missing middle. I speak in front of a board tonight that I know appreciates facts. And so I want to highlight a few facts about workforce housing in our county and in our city. The two-bedroom apartment. HUD has, as its FMR, its fair market rate for a two-bedroom apartment in Washtenaw County at $1,384 a month. That includes utilities. The McKinley two-bedroom average rent is $1,378 a month. 14% of all of our units, Ypsilanti Township, Pittsfield Township, Ann Arbor City, hold portable Section 8 vouchers. I'm personally proud of that, and I can tell you that the Ann Arbor Housing Commission do a heck of a job in this environment with Section 8. It's a fact that McKinley Communities in total is the only large, sustainable, professionally managed block of workforce housing meeting the needs of that missing middle, that 50% AMI, average median income, to 80% AMI in the entire county. And I include everything from studios up to 4 bedrooms. So in closing, I just want to say, obviously, thank you for listening and giving me audience. And as I mentioned in a memo that I sent just earlier today, we recognize the challenges of housing affordability. And contrary to what some have purported, sometimes loudly, McKinley, born and raised a company here in Ann Arbor, stands up very proudly as a part of Ann Arbor's solution, not its problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kamal Agour.
Good evening. My name is Kamal Agour, and I've been living here in Ann Arbor since '96. And I came today to make a little small talk. I know that every one of you is pro-Israel. I know that, unfortunately. And if you're pro-Israel, then you should know how this Zionist state came to existence. Do you know? I'm sure you don't. So I'm here today for this. We're going to run a little quick video for Golda Meir, who is the most popular Israeli prime minister during the 70s, saying who she is.
Got the mandate over Palestine.
Just 1 second, please. So Golda Meir is the most popular Israeli prime minister during the 70s. Hear her out and see what she is saying. And then you know how the Zionist state came to existence.
For the First World War, when Britain got the mandate over Palestine, what was Palestine then? Palestine was then the area between the Mediterranean and the Iraqi border.
You say there's no such thing as
East
Palestinian.
and West Bank, no. East and West Bank was Palestine. I'm a Palestinian.
She is a Palestinian.
From 21 until 48, I carried a Palestinian passport. There was no such thing in this area as Jews and Arabs and Palestinians. There were Jews and Arabs.
I think this is clear. I mean, you cannot suspect this. Golda Meir, okay? And then, after this, what happened, how this Zionist state came to existence, have a little video, but unfortunately, it's in Hebrew, and it's translated to Arabic, and it's going to take a lot more time to translate it to English, how those mercenaries, because there was no Israel back then, so they were mercenaries, killing telling how they killed and evacuated the Palestinian villages, killing hundreds and thousands of Palestinians, women, kids, and how many girls they raped, and how many Palestinians they put the fire on, okay, burned them alive. I have it. So if you're interested, I could, play it on for you, but I'm sure, anyway, come to your conscience as a human being. Thousands of kids are being killed. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ahmad Zalt.
Good evening, esteemed members of this council. My name is Ahmed Zal, and I'm a citizen of Ann Arbor. So I just wanted to share with you guys something. So on October 7th, this country condemned the brazen murder of Israelis in Israel, declaring that the murder of innocents is un-American and inhumane. I'm very disheartened to see that this empathy and rationale does not extend to the civilians of Gaza, who have been without water, food, and electricity for over a week, sustaining constant bombardments for crimes that they did not commit. The history of Israel and Palestine is way beyond the scope of my qualification and this meeting. But all I'm asking is that the city of Ann Arbor stands with humanity and recognizes the indiscriminate destruction of innocents in Gaza. A helpless 2 million civilians, half of which are under 18 years old, have been under constant bombardment, starvation, and are sustaining an unprecedented trauma. War crimes have been committed without accountability, all in the name of vengeance. The IDF officials have publicly referred to Palestinians as animals, and the media has conflated the actions of a militant group with the entirety of the Arab and Muslim population. And this is not without consequence. Will County Sheriff's Office in Illinois have confirmed that the murder of Wadia al-Fayoumi, a 6-year-old stabbed 26 times by his landlord, was a hate crime committed by a man radicalized by this rhetoric. Ann Arbor is a beautiful city, and it's very diverse, and it's among the safest in this country. It's home to a robust and hardworking, law-abiding community of Palestinian Americans, many of whom have family in Gaza and are extremely distressed by the callous and indiscriminate siege. I think I speak for our entire community when I say we want peace and safety for all, domestically and internationally. I hope that the city of Ann Arbor can stand with humanity, condemn the merciless conditions of the siege, and continue advocating for the safety and prosperities of all members of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joan Lowenstein.
It's customary lately to start every speech acknowledging that we are standing on Ojibwe land. But I have not yet heard anyone suggest that the natural progression of that is to encourage the Ojibwe to storm our homes and kill our children. Yet that is exactly what the Hamas apologists are saying in response to the murders of more than 1,300 Jews in Israel by Islamic terrorists. I'm here because, as a Jew, I have skin in the game, and I will not stand by while so-called academics distort history to erase Jews from it. To only condemn Israel's response is to sign on to Jewish erasure. Jews have no rights to self-determination in the land they've continuously inhabited for 3,000 years, no rights to live in peace alongside their neighbors, no right to exist. In 1947, the United Nations created a two-state solution in Palestine, yet no Arab nation accepted it and instead attacked the Jews. To this day, the State of Israel does not have a partner for peace among the Palestinians, and that became so painfully obvious on October 7th. Hamas is as dangerous to the Palestinian people as it is to Israel. The UN is reporting today that Hamas is stealing fuel and supplies meant for humanitarian aid. Hamas's decision to be a puppet of Iran and invest in murder rather than government may mean the end of a possibility for peace. I hope not. Imagine, though, what our country would be doing if the Taliban, instead of being thousands of miles away, were living next door. Would we be giving them work permits so they could come scope out our schools and figure out how to kill more children? There is a way to end this conflict quickly. Release the hostages and surrender the weapons. You can figure out for yourselves whether Hamas will do that. We are all capable of unequivocally condemning Hamas's terror, supporting Israel's right to defend itself, and demanding the unconditional release of the hostages, while also decrying the loss of innocent Palestinian lives. All of that is necessary if we are ever to find a path towards peace. As President Biden stated, this is a fight between good and evil. I stand with President Biden, and I stand with Israel.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Kathy Griswold.
I'd like to acknowledge that these are extremely difficult times, but tonight, as with previous meetings, I've had to talk about a very simple issue that's threatening the safety of our children. And there is a solution, and there is an opportunity to change. Over the weekend, I was talking to President Ono, and I thanked him for changing the culture of the university. And he looked at me like, "What do you mean?" And I said, the university has become solution-oriented. Previously, many of the staff and academics kept their heads down because to draw attention to themselves could cause a problem. So this same type of change in the culture is possible within the city of Ann Arbor. And there is definitely the ability and the skills to do that. However, we are not there. I turned in a A2 Fix-It ticket on September 12th. Please improve the King School crosswalks. What I got was a staff report that indicated negligence, fraud, outright inaccurate information, and they referred to the unimproved pathways. These pathways, according to Google Street View 2012, were freshly blacktopped. They also referred to the ramps not being ADA compliant. The crosswalks were probably put in around 1969 when King's School opened. The ADA law was passed in 1990. That's just simple arithmetic. The signs that were posted are S21 signs. If you don't have any transportation expertise, use Google Lens. They are school crosswalk signs. And these signs on the back have a little adhesive tag with the city seal, traffic warrant control signs or something to that effect. How can someone be that wrong? I mean, that's four errors on something very simple. And a teacher posted on the WBWC listserv that I'm reading this with interest as an AAPS teacher with a good number of former students from King's School. What boggles my mind is all of this and that with this code and that sign code and whatever walkway zoning gobbledygook the city or anyone else comes up with. These are kids. We are talking about the safety and keeping them safe as they walk or bike to school. Enough said. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Blaine Coleman.
Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. That means Palestinians will be free forever from an apartheid state, Israel, which is bombing 1 million starving, traumatized Palestinians out of their homes with your tax dollars. You are paying Israel to do that. We should stop. Listen to the University of Michigan students who told you not a nickel, not a dime, no more money for Israel's crimes. When you listen to them and when you act on that, you will approve our resolution, which says simply, we are against military aid to Israel. 7 words. Then other city councils will follow you, Congress will follow you, and the apartheid state will be stripped of its atomic bombs, its jet bombers, its weapons of mass destruction. That's exactly what happened to Israel's very close ally, the apartheid state of South Africa, which is now dead and buried and never coming back. Do you want to be remembered as a racist? As an apartheid enabler, as an apartheid city council who helped Israel commit their final solution against the occupied people of Palestine? You can see Israel's final solution blasting through Gaza right now. Your progressive voter base will not thank you for riding those tanks into Gaza with Israel. Stop helping to arm Israel as it starves and bombs and massacres 1 million Palestinians who never did you any harm. Listen to the Michigan students. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. Pass the 7-word resolution that says we are against military aid to Israel. Do not let yourself be remembered as an apartheid city council dealing death to many, many thousands of Palestinians with your tax dollars. Don't let yourself be remembered that way.
Our next speaker is Mozan Savabiasafani.
A genocide is ongoing with full support of the United States government and full support of Ann Arbor City Council. I say that because for the past 22 years, I have come here, I have demanded that this assembly say the smallest thing to support life in Palestine. And every time I have opened my mouth to say, don't murder Palestinians, they have accused me of anti-Semitism. This assembly here has had multiple chances to stop the current genocide, and they have declined. Today, every 15 minutes, one child is murdered by the Nazi Zionist state of Israel. That Nazi Zionist state is doing it with the bombs and bullets that the United States offers them. Your tax dollars buys it for them. Think about that. Also think about the fact that that Zionist state has encircled 2.5 million people in Gaza and is carpet bombing Gaza right now and telling people to leave. Think about that. No water, no food, no electricity, hospitals overwhelmed, and you are paying for it. And not only that, at a time of a genocide, collective punishment, extreme brutality, members of this city council are sitting and giggling together as if the cappuccino is coming. This is not a humane city council. It has proven to me. I have come here with a lot less anger 20 years ago. They have driven me to a point where I can scream and tell them that they are racist bastards. A genocide is happening. A genocide. The very least you can do at a time like this is to say, don't give those butchers any more guns. Don't give those Zionist, racist bastards any more guns. Say that. If you don't, you will go down in history on the side of the racist Zionists. If you say nothing, your Human Rights Commission should just close up and go home. It is just a shameful thing. Don't think of this town as, oh, such a great haven for progressives. If you don't say anything at a time like this, you are no progressive. Say it. No military aid to Israel.
Our next speaker is Adam Goodman.
Adam Goodman, you can go ahead and speak.
Hi, this is Adam Goodman, calling in from Ward 5. I'm calling in support of two resolutions tonight, which are DC4 and DC7. Both of them are about MDOT infrastructure that divides our community. DC7 is about a proposal to build a giant fence along the railroad tracks without any consideration to improve pedestrian access across the tracks. And even though they've clearly documented that there's a strong demand and need for safe crossings. And DC4 is about an MDOT study to consider, quote, operational improvements, unquote, to US 23. I need to be clear about something. Operational improvements is doublespeak for widen it. They're planning to widen the freeway to add lanes to it. A lot of people are already mad about the railroad fence, but I think we should also be mad about US 23. It is also a massive and impenetrable wall that divides our community. It's just that it's already been built. Crucially, it appears that the MDOT won't be fixing all of the bridges and interchanges to allow people walking and biking to safely cross the highway, even as they're preparing to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in this widening project. And we have a goal to reduce vehicle miles traveled by 50%. That goal will never succeed if this happens. Never. So I support both of these resolutions. I hope you'll approve them unanimously tonight. So I guess I also want to talk for a bit about crosswalks within the city, since that's come up a bit already. You know, folks in my neighborhood have been fighting to get safe crossings across Jackson and West Huron for decades. My friends on the south side of town are terrified about having their kids walk across Packard to get to school. And I'm sure a lot of parents are still upset about a previous city council's inexplicable decision to turn down a $400,000 Safe Routes to School grant to fill sidewalk gaps near Ann Arbor Steam on the north side. We have pedestrian safety and access problems all across our city. We have a sidewalk gap backlog that's going to take decades, maybe over a century, to get through. So maybe showing up with some pictures of a problematic crossing is a good way to score some cheap political points, but I really question whether a neighborhood full of large lot, $1 million single-family homes should be our sole focus in this discussion. What we need are systemic solutions for systemic problems. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brandon Dimcheff.
Brandon Dimcheff, go ahead.
Hi, Council. This is Brandon Dimcheff from West Larrytown in the 4th Ward. If you've heard me speak before, you know that it's extremely out of character that I would ask for more process. But in this case, I'm asking you to vote yes on DC 8 to ensure that we have a fair process for determining what to do with the city-owned property known to most folks as a Klein lot. I understand that there was an unsolicited bid presented to the city, but in my opinion, we shouldn't sell off a large, valuable piece of downtown real estate to whoever shows up first in a deal negotiated in private. As far as I know, it's the policy of council that these city-owned lots should be used for development of affordable housing, and that policy hasn't been changed by a resolution of this body. I certainly can be convinced that selling the lot and using those resources for the development of affordable housing elsewhere is a more efficient use of funds and land, but that argument hasn't been successfully made in this case. It seems reasonable to request that if we're going to deviate from set council policy here, that you discuss options openly and deliberately choose the option that will best suit the city. DC8 would direct the city administrator to recommend the best uses for the site, and also to create a process for how we see those uses realized. Please vote yes so we can achieve the best outcome for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there communications today from council? Councilmember Rodino.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to remind folks that tomorrow, Tuesday, October 17th at 6 p.m. at Westgate Branch, which will be an early voting site if we move forward with the resolution tonight, you can join the Washtenaw County Director of Elections, our esteemed Ann Arbor City Clerk, and the League of Women Voters for a presentation about voting rights for elections this November and in 2024, and to learn about early voting options, the permanent absentee ballot list, and how to become a poll worker. And then also just wanted to remind folks that on October 24th at 6 p.m. at Mallett's Creek Library, Councilmember Ghazi Edwin and I will be hosting our community listening hour and encourage folks to join us.
Councilmember Saul.
I'd like to thank folks for coming out to the TC1 Community Engagement Meeting on Plymouth Road. Last week we had a pretty good turnout, a lot of questions. Again, this is something that has to go through Planning Commission and up to council vote, so rezoning is a process. Before it comes to Planning Commission, staff have encouraged folks to submit questions and ideas to planning@e2gov.org. I also wanted to thank the county commissioners for releasing really important COVID-related ARPA money towards our senior care. This was voted on the 4th. This was $3.8 million to go towards Ipsy, Dexter, Chelsea, Meals on Wheels. Our seniors who are in public housing, they were reminded that folks 65 and older accounted for more than 80% of COVID-related deaths through 2023. So I wanted to send appreciation for county commissioners to responding to the ongoing needs of our senior community.
Councilmember Ackman.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to let people know about the new pilot bike parking program, which is intended to increase bike parking facilities across the city. This invites businesses and other organizations to express their interest in having parking facilities near their location by going through the online application in the city stream form. So you just go in there and look for business bike parking pilot permit. Thank you.
Councilmember Dish.
Thank you. I wanted to mention that Councilmember Harrison and I will be having a joint coffee hour from 6:30 to 7:30 on Tuesday, October 24th in the multipurpose room of the Ann Arbor District Library. And I wanted to thank Councilmember Song for mentioning the TC1 discussion. I was on a long-planned trip out of town Thursday night, so I was not able to be at the session, but I appreciate that you attended it. And I also, with Councilmember Watson, thank you both. I promise you I will be paying close attention to that, paying also, not just playing. And I'm grateful to you for explaining the process. There's a lot more public opportunities for input to come. So we will be hearing from you.
Councilmember Briggs.
Yeah, just wanted to let folks know that who are interested in Miller Avenue that there's a public meeting that's coming up this Thursday, October 19th, from 6 to 7:30 p.m. It's a virtual meeting, and the Zoom meeting link will be posted on the city's project website later on, I think the day of the meeting. And basically, it's going to be focused in on project improvements, which include water main replacement, storm sewer improvements, road repaving, and combining a separate bike lanes into a single two-way cycle track. So lots on the agenda to discuss.
Further communication from council. I'd like to request confirmation of the following appointments that were presented to City Council for consideration of the October 2, 2023 regular session: to the Historic District Commission, Chip Smith and Steve Kaplan; to the Housing and Human Services Advisory Board, Faith Redwine Otieo; to the Downtown Development Authority, Angela Jackson; and to the Council on Disability Issues, Elena Chambers. May I have a motion, please? Moved by Councilmember Medina, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. I'd like to submit the following nominations for your consideration: to the Elizabeth Dean Fund Committee, Samuel Rosewig; to the Transportation Commission, Pravina Ramaswamy. May I have a motion, please, to approve the consent agenda? Moved by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin, seconded by Councilmember Watson. Discussion of the consent agenda. Councilmember?
I just thought it was worth noting that a few of the items got pulled from so CA 11 through 13 are no longer on the agenda.
I understand those will be on they'll be coming around at some point in the near term. Further discussion, Councilmember Cornell.
Very briefly, I just want to call out CA7, which is the Grandview traffic calming. That is a cut through from Dexter to Jackson, where there's frequent speeding from what I've heard from constituents in Ward 5, and I'm thrilled to see this project proceeding.
For my part, I'd like to recognize and call out CA10, resolution to accept district geothermal grants from the U.S. Department of Energy to support geothermal design and deployment and to equitably decarbonize our Bryant neighborhood. This is a competitive grant that our city, with the great and good work of the OSI and Dr. Stultz, has won one of 13 jurisdictions throughout the country. It is going to enable us to put together a plan to supply geothermal energy to the 242 homes in the Bryant neighborhood, Bryant Elementary School, the Wheeler Maintenance Center, and a mental health facility as well. It's an incredibly exciting grant and project, and one that hits foursquare on all of our A20 values. Our goal to achieve community-wide carbon neutrality by 2030, accomplished in a just and equitable manner. This is Dr. Stultz and her amazing staff putting our grants where our action is, or our metaphors where our money is, doing good work. In any event, this is an incredibly exciting project, and I look forward to seeing its fruits. Further discussion. Councilmember Song.
I'd like to add to CA10 how Dr. Stultz at a community meeting with U of M in their Campus Plan 2050, which included possible geothermal fields, was savvy enough to ask if U of M in their future plans would consider extending their geothermal field access to community members outside of U of M. So I really love this idea that perhaps when we think about energy we talk about shared uses, and hopefully that's a commitment U of M can come around to before 2050.
Further discussion? I'll say very briefly, and though recognizing that I'm talking twice for the consent agenda, I mean, good Lord, that in my thanks to Office of OSI, I hear Dr. Stultz in my head reminding me that the work is not done exclusively by OSI. In particularity, the work done to improve the Bryant neighborhood is done with great cooperation and leadership from the ground up, from residents who are key in developing and designing the plan, to CAN, who's key to developing, designing, and implementing the plan and the work in the other areas as well. This is an all-hands operation, and although it's right to praise staff, there is more than enough praise to go around, and the residents and our partners and colleagues at CAN fully warrant that praise as well. Further discussion? I don't think I've ever spoken once at a consent agenda, much less twice, but so be it. Further discussion? All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Opposed? The consent agenda is approved with 11 council members present, all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 8-vote requirement with the aforementioned CA10. We now come to a set of public hearings. Public hearings are opportunities for members of the public to speak to council and the community about matters of municipal interest. With particularity, of course, the item on the agenda, that is to say the subject matter of the public hearing. To speak at a public hearing, you need not have signed up in advance, but your speech must relate to the specific subject matter of the public hearing, that is to say the item on the agenda to which the public hearing relates. Speakers in all instances will have 3 minutes in which to speak, so please pay close attention to the time. Our clerk will notify you when 30 seconds are remaining and when your time has expired. When your time has expired, please conclude your remarks and cede the floor. Is there anyone in-house who would like to speak at public hearing number 1, which is a resolution to approve the annexation of 3701, 3713 Riverside Drive? Anyone who would like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who would like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't have any callers online with their hands up.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. Public hearing number 2, resolution to accept and appropriate the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, award of $25,086 for opioid harm reduction efforts and sharps disposal. Is there anyone who'd like to speak at this public hearing? Is there anyone online who'd like to speak at this public hearing?
Mayor, I don't have any callers online with their hands up for this hearing.
Seeing no one, this public hearing is closed. We have before us the regular session minutes of September 26, 2023, and the regular session meeting minutes of October 2, 2023. Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Radina. Discussion, please, of the minutes. All in favor? Opposed? Minutes are approved. C1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 55, Unified Development Code, zoning of 3.0 of 5.23 acres from TWP Township to PL Public Land District, vacant Traver Road. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Adina. Discussion, please, of C1. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DB1, resolution to approve the annexation of 37371. Oh, goodness. Resolution to approve the annexation of 3701 and 3713 Riverside Drive, 7.74 acres. May I have a motion, please? Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin. Discussion, please, of DB1. Councilmember Dish.
So we are asked to approve the annexation in R1B zoning of those two adjacent parcels. They are a total of 0.74 acres, and they're currently located in Ann Arbor Township, but they're within the contiguous bounded limits of the city, which means that they're a township island. So on this one, the petitioner had requested R1A zoning and has made it known that they intend to sell the parcels for development opportunities. City planning staff communicated to the petitioner that R1B is, that they recommend R1B because that would be more consistent with surrounding land uses, and it also is better aligned with the update of the comprehensive land use plan. And so I just wanted to make sure that this is fully understood. You may have noticed a typo on page 2 of the staff report that refers to the staff supporting R1A zoning. I want to be clear that staff supports R1B zoning, and staff suggested it because because it is consistent to increase from 1 to 3 the maximum number of houses that could be built on the parcel. So R1A could accommodate only one house because it requires 20,000 square feet or a half an acre lot minimum, and this is 3/4 of an acre. R1B would permit up to 3 houses because it requires a 10,000 square foot or 1/4 acre lot minimum. So I don't know if I clarified or muddied the issue, but this is pretty straightforward.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DB2, resolution to approve the locations for early voting centers for the 2024 election cycle. Moved by Councilmember Cornell, second by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion, please, of DB2. For my part, I'm just wishing to express my gratitude to our indomitable clerk, Ms. Boudry, and all who work with her to support our elections. We are so I am so grateful that the state of Michigan, through various constitutional amendments, has worked to expand the franchise to enable more people to cast their ballot, whether through absentee voters or absentee voting, or in this context, early voting. It is an exciting initiative, and I'm just so glad that we are going to be enjoying the fruits of it. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DB3, resolution to permanently relocate Precinct 432 from the Mary Street polling place to the University of Michigan Coliseum, and Precincts 433 and 324 from the UM Coliseum and Tappan Middle School to the Ann Arbor Senior Center, beginning with the 2024 presidential primary election. Moved by Councilmember Radina, second by Councilmember Watson. Discussion, please, of DB3. Councilmember Rackman.
Thanks. Just wanted to speak to this quickly since it's in the 4th Ward. These 2 precincts are going to have their polling locations moved to the Senior Center. This can accommodate the 2 precincts. It's the most conveniently located, is what they determined, after the Mary Street is going away because a fallen tree damaged it too much to continue to use it. So signage will be posted at the affected locations for all the 2024 elections, and people will also be getting new voter identification cards, in addition to other things like press releases, and I believe people get mail about this too, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so they'll be getting something in the mail too about this, so thanks.
Councilmember Dish.
I'm sorry, I don't know how to do this in order. I may have misled the public. All we did tonight on that Riverside Drive is we voted to annex. We haven't approved the rezoning. I did muddle the thing a little bit, so sorry.
Speaking on behalf of us all is forgiven. Further discussion of DB3. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DS1, resolution to accept and appropriate the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, JAG, award of $25,086 for opioid harm reduction efforts and sharps disposal. Moved by Councilmember Harrison, second by Councilmember Dish. Discussion, please, of DS1. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC1, resolution to appoint non-resident electors to Council on Disability Issues and Airport Advisory Committee. Moved by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin, second by Councilmember Cornell. Discussion, please, of DC1. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved with 11 council members present, thus all voting in the affirmative, thus satisfying the 7-vote requirement. DC2, resolution to appoint Jess Francis to the Independent Community Police Oversight Commission. Moved by Councilmember Harrison, seconded by Councilmember Watson. Discussion, please, of DC2. All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC3, resolution to measure the impact of the home energy rating disclosure and annually report on results to City Council. Moved by Councilmember Ghazi Edwin, seconded by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion, please, of DC3. Councilmember Ghazi Edwin.
Thank you, Mayor. So I want to thank OSI and city staff for working on putting this together. This resolution just came out of the desire to monitor potential unintended consequences of the HERD rating energy disclosure, specifically potential to increase, economic and racial disparities and participating in our housing market, which we don't anticipate, and we hope it doesn't happen, but we know that data is important to evaluate so that we can tweak the program if need be, whether it's disparities or something else. So what this resolution really lays out is that prior to HERD's official launch, we will proactively target residents who are low income, encourage them to undergo a free assessment now, and give them priority access to receive the city and state rebates and subsidies that are available to make home energy upgrades. This is simply because the funding that's currently available is not unlimited, and we want to prioritize high need. Then continuing to prioritize high need once the program launches. As I mentioned, developing a comprehensive monitoring and evaluation process, which will, the proper data that needs to be collected will be determined by OSI. And then establish an ongoing reporting mechanism from OSI to City Council and the public on HERD's impact. I hope that you will join me in supporting this tonight because I think that it will help to make sure that we implement this in a careful way. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Harrison.
Yeah, in a time when our residents are confronting thank you, Mayor. Just moving on along. In a time when our residents are confronting a housing crisis, it is crucial that our steps towards a carbon-neutral future don't inadvertently cast shadows on our marginalized populations. In striving for a zero-carbon goal, we must ensure that no resident is left behind or burdened unfairly. The Home Energy Rating Disclosure Ordinance is intended to empower consumers, but it is our responsibility as City Council members to ensure it does not inadvertently widen the racial or income disparities in our community. I believe we have a duty to make sure that every homeowner has the resources and information they need to thrive. By offering home energy scores for free and prioritizing low-income households, we're not only advancing our energy goals, but also ensuring that the financial burden does not fall on those least equipped to bear it. Our commitment to tracking, transparency, and prioritization, as outlined in this resolution, reaffirms our dedication to equity. As a co-sponsor, I do wholeheartedly support Council Member Ghazi Edwin's resolution. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Dish.
I would like to thank Councilmember Ghazi Edwin for her work on this resolution and Thank you very much for letting me be part of it.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC 4, resolution to restore community connections with continuous, comfortable walking and biking facilities across US 23. Moved by Councilmember Ackman, second by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion, please, of DC 4. Councilmember Ackman.
Thank you. So I wanted to thank staff for preparing a version of this that went to the Transportation Commission last month and was passed by them. MDOT, just to set the context up, is engaged in an environmental assessment study to, in their words, as I think one of our public commenters said before, quote, develop and evaluate alternatives to improve operations and safety. They're planning to invest some $250 million rebuilding the section of US 23 that runs along the east side of Ann Arbor. Right now, there are 8 crossing opportunities along the east side, but only to accommodate cars. There's no accommodations for people who might be walking or biking, and that's despite the fact that many people work, live, and play in this area. So really what we're asking of MDOT is for them to take this reconstruction as an opportunity to connect what has been divided and create safe, accessible options for people walking, biking, and rolling to cross this freeway. We are also asking them not to add lanes for automobile traffic to the freeway. Building bigger roads makes congestion worse through induced demand and capacity expansion at a time when we really need to be looking at providing alternatives like mass transit. In fact, I was very interested to see on the project website for MDOT, they have a presentation linked there, and it said that some of the goals of the project are safe operation for multimodal users along and crossing the corridor, provide an adaptive series of solutions to meet the changing mobility needs, including use of transit. So I really don't see any reason, nor did Transportation Commission see a reason, to be adding a lane. So this is an investment that provides a significant opportunity to allocate the budget and define the project scope to adequately address mobility needs. And I hope that my colleagues will support this.
Councilmember Briggs.
Councilmember Ackman said it well. A couple things I just wanted to add was that MDOT has stated that it plans to develop and evaluate alternatives based on the needs and desires of impacted communities. So this resolution is very timely in the sense that we're sharing what what our goals are, what our desire is out of this this EA study, and having them align their strategies and budget to reflect the community needs. So I hope folks will support it tonight.
Councilmember Watson.
I'd like to thank Transportation Commission and Councilmember Ackman for their work on this. And I also wanted to mention that some of, the northern 3 or 4 of these crossings are in Ward 2, and they came up in discussions around sidewalk improvements in those areas because the links that cross Plymouth Road and going north on Earhart Road aren't as friendly to walkers and bikers as, for example, the one further south at Geddes Road. And I think people in this neighborhood have really, or, on this side of town have really enjoyed the access to the B2B trail and all types of the improvements we've done in biking and walking infrastructure, and I think it's only kind of fair that the state should follow suit. So that's why I support this and why I'm hoping to encourage MDOT to follow through.
Councilmember Song.
I was wondering if, do we know if our neighboring townships would be in support of, I would assume so, maybe perhaps this is something, if we pass this tonight, we can push our township neighbors to also pass similar resolutions in support of this.
Mr. Dohoney?
Mr. Hess is available if you want to pose a question to him, but in the spirit of what Councilmember is saying, we could certainly connect with the township afterwards to see.
Thank you. I'm just, if we're improving these pathways, they're going somewhere. And it'd be great if we had those partners also line up with our interests.
Understood.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC5, resolution to appoint Patrick McGuire as the City of Ann Arbor interim police chief. Moved by Councilmember Redina, seconded by Councilmember Watson. Discussion, please, of DC5. Councilmember Redina.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor. I am happy to support this appointment this evening and want to thank Mr. Mahoney for making it and for the mayor for bringing it to us. And just want to express my gratitude to DC McGuire for his willingness to serve our community in this elevated capacity. In my interactions with him so far, I've greatly appreciated his transparency and frankness, his responsiveness to questions, his willingness to share information and address concerns, and simply for his presence around the community. I look forward to continuing to work with him in this new role and hope my colleagues will join me in supporting his interim appointment. But I also want to just take this opportunity to express my deep gratitude for Interim Chief Metzer as she's approaching retirement later this week. Over her 25-year career with the city, Chief Metzer has been a consummate public servant with an exceptional record of service. As I've shared before, I've had the opportunity to begin working with Chief Metzer prior to my election to council when she reached out to me as then president of the Jim Toy Center as part of her effort to maintain AAPD's relationships with marginalized communities, which later informed her work in developing a new AAPD policy on interactions with the transgender community. For the last 15 months, she stepped forward to lead the department during a period of transition and has proven herself to be a stabilizing force who has also demonstrated that she was capable of being much more than a seat warmer, working with council to implement progressive policy change and needed ordinance reforms while simultaneously earning the confidence of the rank and file, keeping our community safe and maintaining the trust and respect of our residents. In my experience, she's been accessible, transparent, responsive, and effective. I'm immensely grateful for her service to us and to Ann Arbor. And so, Chief Metzer, I just wanted to wish you well in this next chapter of your career. I'm glad you're not going far, and thank you for your service.
Further discussion. Councilmember Briggs.
Yeah, I too just wanted to thank Interim Chief Metzer and for her service to the city and to wish her well in her next chapter, and also to welcome in Deputy Chief Patrick McGuire into this role. I'm excited to be working with him. It's been a good experience in his capacity as Deputy Chief, and it's exciting to see somebody step into that role who's grew up in Ann Arbor and knows the community so well and has been working with the city for so many years. So thank you for being willing to take this on.
Further discussion? One of the occasional disadvantages of tending to speak late is that people, often will say that which, were I to utter my sentiments would be mere repetition. That is to say, I'd like, for my part, to extend my sincere and deep gratitude to Chief Metzer and congratulate her on her retirement and her transition to right across the river. We have been for 2 decades and a half the beneficiary of her service to our community, and I for one am incredibly grateful for it. Pleased to and delighted to welcome DC McGuire to the post of interim chief. It's been my pleasure to work with him as well over the years, and look forward to doing so in this new role. It's going to, I think, be an exciting time for Ann Arbor, for the department, as we work together to keep our community safe and to ensure that it is a place that is welcoming and just for everyone. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. Congratulations. DC 6, resolution for evaluation of integration of home energy score assessments and residential inspection process. Moved by Councilmember Harrison, seconded by Councilmember Redina. Discussion, please, of DC 6. Councilmember Harrison.
So with this resolution, thank you, Mayor. With this resolution, we're asking our city administrator to complete a feasibility study of using building inspectors to complete the home energy score assessment as a voluntary service during the renovation process. And I just want to thank staff for working on this, and Mr. Delacourt for the time that he spent in helping to craft this. As we've journeyed towards a more sustainable future, we enacted the Home Energy Rating Disclosure Ordinance with the best of intentions. However, I did have some reservations. While the goal was noble, I did feel that HERD being mandatory at the point of sale might come off as punitive to some of our homeowners, rather than as an empowering tool for informed decisions. Today's resolution offers us an avenue to expand on our original vision and make it more inclusive by providing free energy score assessments during renovations that affect energy efficiency. We not only incentivize, but we also educate. This approach enables more homeowners to understand and embrace energy efficiency without the fear of being penalized. Our inspectors are primed for this endeavor with the foundational training necessary for HERS assessor certification. But while this pathway may seem straightforward, we must be diligent. It is our responsibility to delve into intricacies of costs, funding, and staffing before full implementation. This resolution before us not only aims to broaden our horizons, making energy efficiency assessments more accessible to a larger segment of homeowners, but also by offering free home energy score assessments during significant renovations, we not only incentivize our residents toward energy efficient choices, but also gather vital data that can help shape our city's sustainable future. I hope that you all support me in this resolution and support those of us who co-sponsored, and I thank my co-sponsors for supporting me in this. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilmember Radina.
Thanks. Just very briefly, I don't have much more to add beyond what Councilmember Harrison has already explained, but just wanted to express my gratitude to the council member for her hard work, and I know extensive research and thought and time went into this, and was truly collaborative in that process, bringing in co-sponsors and open to questions and ideas, and so just really grateful for the collaborative process with which this was developed. So thank you.
Councilmember Dish.
Without repeating what Councilmember Radina just said, I want to thank very much Councilmember Harrison's leadership on this issue, and thank both OSI and Planning for their support. And I just want to underscore the potential to reach many more people this could have, because the Building Rental Inspection Services Department could issue up to 14,000 permits and 5,000 housing certifications. That would be just the total for this past year, that they're on track for that. And so that's way more sales than happen in Ann Arbor. And you're also offering this assessment at a time that people are renovating. So you might affect what they choose to do in those renovations in a positive way that bring us more energy efficiency. So this is really terrific, and thank you.
Councilmember Iyer.
Well, all my points have been taken. So I will just reiterate my appreciation for Councilmember Harrison. I saw the work that she did, the research, the voluminous research on this. I know it came from a place of wanting to make sure that we both meet our climate action goal and also do it in a way that's equitable. And so I really appreciate that. And I do, as somebody who has recently had work done in my house, it just makes a lot of sense to integrate it into this process when you've, as a homeowner, you already got somebody out there working, and you're just being told a few extra little things you could do, maybe, to decrease your energy bill is really what it's about for the homeowner, in addition to the climate action. So thank you, and I'm glad to support this, and I'm very curious to see how we might be able to implement this.
Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC 7 resolution against MDOT's proposal to build a wall through Ann Arbor. Moved by 14 years I've seen these titles, and I don't think I've seen one like that. Moved by Councilmember Briggs, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion, please, of DC 7. Councilmember Briggs.
Thank you.
Yes. So earlier this month, I attended a public meeting, as did my colleagues in the First Ward, hosted by the Michigan Department of Transportation's Office of Rail regarding MDOT's proposal to install approximately 6 miles of high-security fencing along the Michigan Rail line through Ann Arbor to prevent trespassing. The estimated cost of this fence is $6.2 million. The room was packed with 100 to 150 people, and I can assure you that the residents are not happy. To date, over 4,500 individuals have signed a Change.org petition opposing this project. The fencing would be placed on both sides of the railroad, one segment between Foster Bridge and Vandermeer Park, about 2 miles, and the second between Plymouth Road and Gallup Park Road, about 4 miles. In other words, MDOT is planning to build a wall through Ann Arbor. This wall would not only restrict the movement of people, but also of wildlife, including those seeking water from the Huron River. It also creates significant obstacles to advancing the border-to-border trail. Park staff at both the city and county have shared their concerns and sought to partner towards better solutions, and to date, MDOT has ignored them. In fact, MDOT staff indicated at the public meeting that they were just looking for feedback on which fence to purchase. It's important that we signal to MDOT and our state legislators tonight that the city and our community are fully opposed to this plan and MDOT's heavy-handed approach. Erecting a wall through our community rather than addressing the root cause of trespassing on train tracks is an example of the worst inclinations of insular government agencies. Residents have created access points through all previous barricades because fundamentally there's a great need and desire to cross the railroad to access our beautiful parks, the river, and other destinations, and there's a strong demand for a linear path along the Huron River. Our park staff and organizations like HWPI have been working to advance the border-to-border trail to address this need. This resolution calls upon MDOT to come to the table and partner with the City of Ann Arbor and other local stakeholders to support the development of legal and safe non-motorized access along the railroad through the development of the border-to-border trail and to help support the development of critically needed access across the railroad. Thank you.
Councilmember Briggs.
Or the other Councilmember
Or Dish.
Yeah, I wanted to thank Councilmember Briggs and Ackman for initiating this resolution and Councilmember Briggs for drafting it. That was a surprising meeting that we attended where MDOT explained all of the people with whom they had consulted, but they seemed not to know the difference between the verb inform and consult. And what they had done is inform. And they genuinely have not engaged with stakeholders in any meaningful way. And by stakeholder, I mean the city, the county, and nonprofits such as those engaged in building the B2B trail and others. And so it really violates our standards. I do not know how much leverage we may have over this, but their environmental assessment began and ended with the question of whether endangered species would be affected. And while I, of course, think that it is important not to affect endangered species, the issue here is an issue of the ecosystem, as Councilmember Briggs made very clear in her remarks. And there has been no serious attention to that because that is what will be disrupted by what you have aptly identified as a wall.
Further discussion? Councilor Ackman?
Thanks. I just wanted to highlight again, as Councilmember Briggs said, that these barriers don't work. They don't get at the problem, which is that people need a way to cross, and there isn't a safe and legal way to do so. So it's just baffling that we keep creating, bigger walls, and it's frustrating. I would also just say that one of the resolve clauses in here specifically calls out engaging with our local state legislative delegation. I noticed, I watched the meeting later on, or at least some clips of it, and I noticed that Commissioner Scott spoke up very forcefully against this. I believe that we have many supporters at all levels of government in our area, and so I hope this will also make its way to County Commission. Thanks.
Councilmember Cornell.
I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor, please.
Councilmember Dina.
Thank you, Mayor. I too was just baffled by MDOT's plan here, which which rather than working with us to create safe passageway for our residents is just trying to create more obstacles out of what seems to be maybe their own convenience. And I'm not even quite sure it's that. I'm grateful to the sponsors for bringing this forward. I don't think we can speak loudly enough on this. I know that I've already had some conversations with state legislators who are upset about this and are going to be using their voices. But to the extent that we can continue to apply pressure to MDOT to change course, I don't think we can do enough. So I too would like to be added to it as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Councilmember Song.
I want to thank constituents who had reached out about this, and I thought an interesting point that was raised was how difficult it would be for first responders to navigate a fence if a fence was there. We've had a number of emergencies and situations along the river, and we know that as new projects come along the river, there'll be more use. Besides, the how popular the river is with tubing, we also have folks who are using our path, bikers and runners. So I really appreciated that point from constituents who are saying that, we actually need pretty consistent access, and this wall would impede that work in an emergency response to the river. So I'm in favor. Thank you to everyone for pulling this together.
Further discussion? Councilmember Briggs.
Just one interesting point that I didn't mention earlier that I learned from staff through this process is that with the easements that we've been granted from MDOT along the railroad, particularly around Gallup Park, when there's damage done to that fence there, we have a financial responsibility to fix it. And so this is also an additional liability that's being placed upon the city because I anticipate that folks would find their way through it.
Further discussion? It's surpassingly ironic, after having, myself and others worked to seek MDOT's construction of a wall along M14, that, finally when MDOT gets it in their heads to build a wall, this is what we should receive. I'm so glad that there is a broad-based community voice stating that this is indeed unacceptable, for it is, and I look forward to our communication to MDOT, our legislators, the governor's office, and look for other local elected officials to make common cause with us. This is a bad solution for a non-present problem. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It is approved. DC 8, resolution to inform next steps regarding the city property located at Ashley and William, moved by Councilmember Adina, seconded by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion, please, of DC 8. Councilmember Adina.
Thank you, Mayor Taylor, and thank you to my colleagues for entertaining this late addition to our council agenda this evening. For me, and I think I can say for my co-sponsors as well, this resolution is pretty straightforward and process-driven. As noted in the resolution, as early as 2019, the city property at Ashley and William was identified as a site for potential future development. Earlier this year, Mr. Mahoney adeptly suggested to council that this site was worth exploring further. And since then, while council hadn't really had an opportunity to discuss it further, it became clear that there was demonstrated interest in the site, including through an unsolicited proposal from an interested developer that the city received this fall. Possibly because the city has relatively few publicly owned properties which could be subject to this type of proposal, we, unlike other cities that have considerably more publicly owned parcels, have never developed a formal policy on exactly how to handle unsolicited proposals when they are received. Personally, I believe that establishing clear processes and expectations is critically important to protect both our city and our taxpayers. And in my view, establishing a clear public process for how to respond in these situations ensures fairness, legitimacy, and transparency, and ultimately strengthens public trust. So without regard to the proposal that was received, because frankly to date I simply just don't have enough information to have formed a firm opinion on it, I believe it is important for us as a body through the passage of a resolution like this to, one, publicly state that we are in fact interested in understanding the best use of this property to support our city's needs and goals, and then two, to publicly deliberate potential processes to move forward, whether it be an outright sale, an RFP, or another process yet to be determined. This resolution asks for those recommendations from the administrator so that we as a body can deliberate and align, and then ask the administrator to invite the interested developer to participate fully in that process once it is established. Finally, I want to say, just as a personal aside, that absent a formal process, I do think Mr. Dohoney has done an exceptional job navigating this to date. And as usual, he continues to represent our city with integrity, thoughtfulness, and wisdom. I think it's exactly because of the hard work that has gone into this so far that we've arrived at a point where I believe that council needs to weigh in on how we would like to proceed. So with that, I encourage your consideration of the resolution. Thank you.
Councilmember Riggs.
Thank you. So let me begin with what this resolution doesn't mean. First, it's definitely not a rebuke of Administrator Dohoney. It's clear from his recent performance review that council believes he's doing an outstanding job and that we have great faith in his leadership. And second, it's not a rejection of the concept that was brought forward of a hotel and conference center space. Rather, it is a recognition that we have a responsibility as council to establish policy. We should not be led by development interests, but instead lead and work with the community to establish a clear vision and plan to ensure our downtown is healthy in the future and that we have the financial resources needed to address our community's needs and priorities. This site has significant history in our city. We have wrestled for decades about what to do with these parcels, in part because we recognize how much the site can shape the future of one of our most beloved parts of our community and the Fifth Ward, the historic downtown Main Street area. For years, we've had a stated goal of increasing housing downtown because we know that more downtown residents are essential to a healthy downtown. In 2021, we undertook an extensive planning process led by the Arbor Housing Commission, and residents articulated a desired vision for this site. Through that engagement process, we learned that there was a strong desire from residents and stakeholders to maximize affordable housing and developed mixed-income housing on the site, to activate the ground floor for public benefit, and to consider the needs of downtown businesses. However, when Administrator Dohoney made the recommendation in April to consider this property as an asset that might generate revenue to accomplish important city goals, I was open to entertaining that conversation. But I anticipated that we'd be presented with recommendations and coalesce around a shared vision before turning away from our most recent plans to build mixed-income housing on the site. However, the arrival of an unsolicited proposal interrupted that likely process and has us considering other uses like a hotel and convention center space before coalescing around a vision. If council doesn't support this resolution, we will continue to work to negotiate a deal with this developer, but it's difficult to imagine that we would get the best deal because we have not established a vision or goal other than generating revenue. We haven't established why we should turn away from our previous plan to build mixed-income housing on this site. We haven't had public discussions with important downtown stakeholders or the public to establish the need for a convention center or a hotel, nor what attributes we might want to see from a convention center. And if we proceed, we won't have the opportunity to compare this proposal against any other potential proposals because it hasn't been solicited through an open and competitive bidding process. And as such, it would make it very difficult, at least for me, to support any deal that comes out of this process, which is also not a fair position to put a developer in. This resolution gives us the opportunity to identify our goals and vision for this site, then create a process to ensure we can fairly evaluate any development proposal and understand if it's aligned with that vision. So I ask for your support in moving this resolution forward this evening.
Councilmember Iyer.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was happy to work on this with my colleagues, and I think it should probably surprise no one that I believe the principle of best value should always be applied when offering to sell any land or assets owned by the public, in this case, owned by the citizens of Ann Arbor. As elected officials, we have an obligation, a fiduciary duty, to seek the highest and best use according to our identified needs and goals, and to secure the best price for the sale of such public assets if that's what we decide to do. The fact that the city has received an unsolicited proposal for this property certainly indicates that there's great interest in it. And I believe it should trigger an action by council to employ open and competitive bidding in order to obtain the highest and best use at the best price. It's my understanding that at the state level, when state land is deemed surplus or when there is an unsolicited bid for a parcel, that an RFP process is automatically used, so there is good precedent for us there. The last public conversation regarding the Klein lot set a course for housing at mixed income levels on the site to address our housing and affordability crises. If we are going to change course, I believe we first need to have a public conversation about that, and importantly, make a solid case for the change. I believe that needs to be done before we consider any proposal.
Therefore, I worked with my colleagues to present this resolution, which asks our city administrator to provide us with his recommendations for the best use of this property to support the city's needs and goals, and the potential processes to move us forward. This would allow us to have a public discussion to either confirm or redirect the course for the property, the reasons for doing so, and the process to get us there. Finally, assuming we would proceed, the process itself would allow for open, transparent, and competitive bidding to get us the highest and best use of the property for the best price. Like others, I share gratitude for the work that Administrator Dohoney and staff have done so far to vet and work on this unsolicited bid. And you know, I think at this juncture, I'm most comfortable taking a pause from that course and going back and addressing some of these outstanding questions before we continue ahead.
For my part, I'm extremely comfortable with staff's discussion with SI to explore whether SI is able to put together a proposal that is, in staff's view, suitable for consideration by council and the public, and am extremely grateful for the wisdom, judgment, and efforts of Mr. Honey in this regard, as well as the rest of the professional staff. This question arose as a result of SI's unsolicited initiative. Discussions, of course, with SI remain non-exclusive. Anyone with an alternative proposal may engage on exactly the same basis as SI is presently engaging now. The process here is entirely clear. If SI discussions with staff do not give rise to a proposal that in staff's view is sufficiently positive, then no proposal will come to council. In that light, then, I would be happy to ask the administrator and staff to take initiative and to detail a process for moving forward. If, on the other hand, in staff's collective view, the SI proposal turns out to be in a condition for consideration, then the discussion of that proposal's benefits, its detriments, its opportunity costs, its role in our downtown, and so forth, this conversation will be lengthy, multi-stakeholder, public, and entirely transparent. In part, I believe, because the resolution would disrupt current conversations, and because I look forward to seeing if they can indeed come to fruition, to put forward a proposal that would be suitable for complete discussion. I will tonight be voting no. Further discussion. Councilmember Cornell.
First of all, I want to say thank you to city staff, especially Mr. Dohoney and Ms. Corr's teams. I know that you've done a lot of work on this. I have a lot of questions and concerns, but I don't have any way to articulate them without speculating because we have no proposal, despite being mentioned in a whereas clause. The public knows as much as council and city staff about what SI is envisioning for this site. There's no deal. There hasn't been anything done in secret. I'm not sure how things could have been more transparent as things sit today. And I want to reiterate Mayor Taylor's point that another developer, any other developer could come to the city with a proposal, with an idea, with a notion of what that site could look like. Receiving an unsolicited request is not uncommon in economic development. I can point to several projects in recent years due to my involvement with Ann Arbor Spark where the city was approached by a business wanting to locate here, notably Barracuda, KLA, and Sartorius. Because we have very little open land in Ann Arbor and a scarcity that is owned by the city, these requests don't often progress with city involvement until it's pretty far down the road, because the land acquisitions piece is done between a developer and a private landowner or the U. It's important to note that in this specific scenario regarding Sports Illustrated, the footprint required to build a mixed-use development that includes a conference center, which we know has been a priority for our local Convention and Visitors Bureau for at least a decade, shrinks the list of properties that could work in the downtown DDA district down to only this specific property. In terms of engaging with business owners and community members, talking to Destination Ann Arbor and the Main Street Area Association, we know that this type of project here specifically could have an enormous impact on neighboring downtown businesses, plus benefit walkability and other things that we, I believe, hold true as values within the community. I also worry about the existing perception that Ann Arbor is a pain to do business with. And We don't have the best track record of retaining city managers recently. I'm not supporting this resolution because I would like to see what materializes from the work thus far and to make an educated decision as to what follows. Thank you.
Councilmember Dish.
Thank you, Mayor. I also will be voting no on the resolution, but I thank the sponsors for bringing it. I'm voting no because I want to reserve judgment about the possible development of a sports-themed conference center on the Kleins lot until I've seen the terms of that development proposal. As Councilmember Cornell so nicely put it, there's no proposal yet. I see the contribution that a conference center could make to Ann Arbor downtown, and I know firsthand how central football and basketball and rowing, even tubing on the Huron River are to so many people's enduring love of and identification with Ann Arbor, even if I myself am more a partisan of Hill Auditorium than I am of the Big House. I also want to underscore that leasing or selling this property for private development can bring needed funds into our general fund to support vital city priorities, affordable housing among them, that we need additional resources to realize. But I'm really grateful to the sponsors of this resolution because I welcome the opportunity for us to speak publicly as a body about this possibility. And I do also have questions that I would like to voice that will, in the future, help me evaluate the terms of such a proposal if and when it comes forward. I would like to receive informational memos from our city attorney and city administrator when the time is ripe for that about the things that we can accomplish, could accomplish with a conference center on this site, and especially of the financial complexities of this deal. And our staff is characteristically generous and thoughtful in putting together these memos, and I look forward to seeing that when the time is ripe. I also have questions about our goals apart from this specific proposal, which would help me think about the question whether this is a good. We can't know if it's the best, that's true, because we don't know what other things we would get if we go with a single source proposal. But I'd love us to talk about what our financial goals are for this asset. Do we want to maximize its value, maximize it within constraints given by other priorities, such as a commitment to carbon neutrality? What's the best way to achieve those goals? Is it through outright sale, ground lease? Does this kind of proposal give us more control than we would have if we sold the property outright? These are all considerations that I just don't know enough about now, and I am excited enough about this proposal that I'd like us to move forward. I'd like us not to stop.
Further discussion? Councilor Song, then Ghazi Edwin.
When City Administrator Mahoney brought this forward to council members, my response was that even though I am myself not a connoisseur of local sports, I fully appreciate the full market value that it brings to our city. And I love the discussion as to whether we're a city of nerds or we're a city of jocks. And given the economic conditions and the benefits that we see from nearly doubling our city size every couple weekends, and how our downtown businesses rely on sports, I would say that we're probably more of a city of sports than geeks at this point. This resolution has given me a lot of thought in reviewing on how we have used the RFP process on our public parcels, and I thought it might be interesting to think a little bit maybe about the library lot and how at one point when we did solicit RFPs for that site, we had to hire CBRE to market that site, and received 9 proposals. And I also wanted to reflect on the timeline of how that garage was built in 2009, and here we are in 2023. And if we look at the Y lot, when we entered a RFP process in 2003, here we are in 2023. So we can ask for process, we can look for partnerships, we can also finally at some point get to a point where we can maybe hopefully look at a site plan. But we are so far from actually looking at a site plan because we don't have a proposal before us. I would love to see a proposal. I would love to go into closed session and actually have general counsel review it with us. But at this point, I just see some press releases from SI, messages and meetings with Mr. Mahoney, and alerting us to every step that every communication he's received, and I feel like there's more information to come, and I'd hate to delay that process. Although I understand the initiative that the sponsors have taken on this, I also worry about, what this sends, what kind of message this sends to folks who are looking to partner with our city. So I will be voting no.
Councilmember Gaziano.
Thank you, Mayor. I also appreciate the sentiment, behind this resolution. I'm all about transparency. I think we are all about transparency. We're all about process. And although I appreciate that, I'll say that I don't really appreciate that it was brought at the 11th hour, because I think that this resolution will inevitably affect other work that Mr. Dohoney is working on. And I want to know the impact of that. I would like to see, for example, a conversation happen with an admin committee, and for you guys to come back to us and tell us that this is how implementing this new process will affect X, Y, and Z project. Because this resolution is really about allocating Mr. Dohoney and city staff's time and resources and doing other things. So because it has come so late, and because I do not have answers to those questions, I will be voting no tonight on implementing this process at what I feel like is the last minute.
Further discussion? Councilmember Watson.
I want to echo a lot of what my colleagues have said about needing more information and wanting to understand the terms of a deal that staff would bring to us before making a decision. So I'll be voting no on this resolution, but I do want to stress that the decision to consider this lot for development, for any sort of for-profit development, isn't a vote again, or isn't a decision against affordable housing, because as we know, the city has time and again leveraged funds to build affordable housing. So, for example, our millage gives us $7 million a year on average to put in affordable housing projects, but that might only be a tenth of what is needed for a project as big as the Klein's lot, something on the downtown core. So there's not really an iteration of development on that site that doesn't include some sort of market rate development. And because of that, our housing commission has to sort of understand how to balance all of those issues. And it could be that getting cash payment to use in other parts of the city might net us out more units in the future. So I did want to just point, draw attention to the fact that the money we receive could be more effectively used elsewhere in the city.
Further discussion? Roll call vote, please, starting with Councilmember Ackman.
Councilmember Ackman?
No.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Cornell?
No.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can I?
Redo.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sleepy. I was away, and I'm not fully here. So no was my vote. I'm so sorry.
Councilmember Harrison?
No.
Councilmember Song?
No.
Councilmember Watson?
No.
Councilmember Radina?
Yes.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
No.
Mayor Taylor?
No.
Councilmember Iyer?
Yes.
Motion fails.
Ms. Cord, do we have the pleasure of a closed session today?
Yes, please, Mayor Taylor and Council, I would like to call a closed session under the Michigan Open Meetings Act, specifically MCL 15.268, C, D, E, and H. Thank you.
We have a motion, please, to go into closed session on that basis. Moved by Councilmember Dish, seconded by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion?
Question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dohoney?
Are we going together or? No, okay.
I'm calling one closed session. However, Mr. Mahoney and I will not concurrently be present in the closed session. We will alternate.
Excellent.
Understood.
Roll call vote, please, starting with Councilmember Ackman.
Yes.
Councilmember Ackman?
Yes.
Councilmember Briggs?
Yes.
Councilmember Cornell?
Yes.
Councilmember Dish?
Yes.
Councilmember Harrison?
Yes.
Councilmember Song?
Yes.
Councilmember Watson?
Yes.
Councilmember Radina?
Yes.
Councilmember Ghazi Edwin?
Yes.
Mayor Taylor?
Yes.
Councilmember Iyer?
Yes.
Motion carries.
We're in closed session. open Closed. Open session. May I have a motion, please, to reopen the agenda? Moved by Councilmember Watson, seconded by Councilmember Song. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Agenda is open. May I have a motion, please, to amend the agenda? Councilmember Adina.
Thank you, Mayor. I move to amend the agenda by adding a resolution to finalize the evaluation report for City Administrator Milton Dohoney.
Seconded by Councilmember Watson. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's approved. We have before us the clerk's report of communications, petitions, and referrals. May I have a motion, please, to approve the clerk's report? Moved by Councilmember Harrison, seconded by Councilmember Dish. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's approved. Ms. Kaur.
No communications today, thank you.
Someday. In the absence of public comment overflow, may I have a motion to adjourn, please? Moved by Councilmember Cornell, seconded by Councilmember Briggs. Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We're adjourned.